Hi, it's Zeos from zeoshihan.com. Today I wanted to talk about isolation. Now, what does it mean when you feel isolated, alone, disconnected, and separate from other people? Really, this affects a lot of people, and it can really put you in an emotional state that ends up making the condition worse or fortifying isolation rather than allowing you to get out of it. Really, the first thing we have to remember is number one, our beliefs create our reality. So if you're reinforcing these beliefs, I'm alone, I'm so different, I'm not from this planet, I'm from another galaxy, I don't belong here, nobody understands me. See, all of this, you have a choice to confirm or reaffirm these beliefs or to change them. Of course, when you mentally change something, your physical reality lags behind. So, yes, for a while you have to strengthen new beliefs while the old beliefs and experiences contradict it, and your current physical reality also contradicts it. But by working on the mental level and saying, let me begin with a more empowering, a more positive, a more encouraging belief, that is always useful. Okay, so that's the first thing. Let's examine the belief structure and let's aim to improve it rather than to reinforce a negative belief. So that's number one. Number two is you may simply not have the tools or technique to release the heavy emotions from the past. See, maybe in childhood or from your parents, you were never acknowledged, or you were always forced to perform, or you were always said, this is how you have to behave, only then you will be loved. And so you may have developed unworthiness. It's just one example where a person feels, I'm not understood or accepted for who I am, and yet they don't have the tool or the technique to deal with that inner child, the hurt part of themselves, or to transform the heavy emotions that may even create depression in some people because they've just tolerated it or lived with it, or it's just been in the background for a while, and at some point it will come to the surface. So the second key is really finding an emotional transformative technique or a releasing technique. And even if you have to Google and do some research, it's absolutely worth it. So find your emotional healing technique. That's the second key. The third key is you have to choose to reach out, right? Once you have the belief that there are cool people out there, that there are people that can really will get you and really will resonate with you and tolerate you and not just tolerate you but really support you. Once you've formulated these beliefs, and you have to have a degree of openness, a willingness to believe, a willingness to receive and welcome another opportunity. So let's be more precise. If a part of you has a fear, I'll be judged, I'll be rejected, I'll be hurt, then the logic is that part doesn't want you to reach out, welcome new people, or meet new individuals, or go into a group situation and socialize. That part says, forget it. What's the point if I'm just going to be hurt again, judged again, rejected again, whatever the belief is, right? So once you understand the belief has to change, emotional healing has to take place for parts of myself, you also have to gather a degree of courage and a degree of push yourself sometimes to a degree to get out there and to give yourself a new opportunity. It's almost like saying, up until now, this was my past and my past reality, and now I'm opening to a new possibility, a more empowering, inspiring connection with people. And it's mostly about people. Since you're a human being on this planet, you definitely want to be connected with people, with humanity, not just with the plants, with the animals, with the energies of the earth, but especially people. So it's setting an intention, calling for energetic motivation, inspiration, and courage, and then giving it a try, giving it a chance. So that's the third key. Give it an opportunity, open to that. And number four is to understand that if things don't work initially, or you still feel separate, you still feel different, the reason is not that these first three steps are not working. It just means you are now being encouraged to confront or to give some energy and time to another emotional release. So sometimes initially it seems, wow, just when I had the courage and I just had the motivation to try again or to open to this possibility, bang, same thing happens again. Again, I'm judged, rejected, hurt, or whatever it is. And the only reason you meet the previous experience is because the universe is helping you to go back to step two and to release another layer of old emotional energy, whatever it is: heaviness, fear, distrust, disbelief, negativity, your own judgment. See, you can't misinterpret these additional opportunities for healing for what you're actually creating in the long term. So then just go back to step two, do the emotional release, gather the courage, motivation again, try again. And as long as you are formulating a new belief structure and you're reinforcing that, it has to change. The reality has to change. Not always easy if you're doing this on your own. See, if you're in this position of feeling isolated or separate or different, then you will have to initiate this whole journey on your own until you create the connections and the supportive experiences that allow you to feel supported. So that's the risk, that you get stuck in a position where you go, I'm all alone in this, it's never worked before, and why should I give it another try? And that's really dangerous. See, that leads to depression, it leads to resignation, it leads to suicidal tendencies, it leads to all kinds of things where you're spiraling down in an emotional sense, rather than stopping this process and moving up the spiral again. So I hope this is useful. See, what's one last thing? One last thing has to do with insecurity and not feeling worthy. Not feeling worthy to be seen, to be heard, to be met, to be loved, to be supported. And here, a fundamental understanding of insecurity and unworthiness is required. Really, I believe this should be taught at school. How do I improve my worthiness levels? How do I decrease my insecurity? Here, some additional research may be needed. So you look online, what do some of the wise and experienced individuals have to say about this subject? See, that's what we have the web for, to find out these things, to really improve our understanding of ourselves, and then improve our emotional, psychological condition, our understanding. There's no need to stay in that insecurity, get locked up with these subtle fears, and then to feel restricted in the way we approach the world. So it's almost as if we recognize at some point in our lives we feel caged in, or we feel restricted by this sense of separation, isolation, or insecurity, and then a choice: I want to get out of this restrictive experience or state of being, state of existing within humanity. I'm not going to accept it as the final, that's how it's always going to be. I'm not going to accept it as the final reality of my being. I'm going to change that reality. And you see, sometimes you have to go right to the bottom. Sometimes a soul has to go right into deep depression or into anger as a secondary stage to go, I'm sick of this and I'm going to change this reality. I don't know how, but let me begin with the research. And once this has taken place, and you have set that intention, I guarantee you the universe will really help you to find the proper resources. Now, whether that's a video online, or whether it's a live service, a practitioner, or whether it's just an experienced friend that can talk some sense into you, all of that is useful. And you will see that step by step, you can then move out of that isolation and sense of feeling separate and not welcome or not embraced by humanity and the collective. It's a journey, of course. Now, what I do when I look at souls or when I help them to discover where does some of the really ancient trauma come from in usually past lifetimes, where do some of these deep memories or deep hurts of feeling separate, isolated, or even choosing to remain in a more detached, isolated position for whatever reason. See, that's what I do in my sessions. I help people to discover, is there something really deep, some contract, agreement, some vow, something that you yourself have put into your system that doesn't let you get out of this position. So that can also be the case. See, it could just be insecurity from childhood, but it could also be something much more long-term, much more profound and deeply ingrained. And so if you feel that you have tried everything on a practical, psychological, personal level, and you're still in the same position, well, then it must be time to dig deeper. And, then you can contact a practitioner such as myself or anyone who can really dig deep to help you go to that level and really dissolve something that may be very deeply buried in the unconscious. So if that is required, you will know, because it means you're doing all the right things and still nothing is improving after a couple of weeks. So hope this is useful, and wishing you all the best, and thank you.